Here is something strange about income. For a lot of people, it is not being held down by a lack of effort, or talent, or even opportunity. It is being held down by a small set of quiet mistakes, so ordinary and so invisible that they never get blamed. Maya works hard. She is good at her job, and yet her income has barely moved in years, and she cannot quite understand why. She assumes she needs to work harder, or wait longer, or hope someone finally notices. What she does not see is the invisible ceiling just above her head, built not from one big error, but from several small, quiet ones she makes without realizing, each capping her income a little. This video is about those mistakes, the ones that quietly keep good, hardworking people earning less than they could, and why almost none of them feel like mistakes at all. Because these are not dramatic blunders. They are subtle, reasonable-seeming habits and beliefs that feel like modesty, or loyalty, or just how things are. And precisely because they feel normal, they never get questioned. Today I want to walk through the most common of these income-suppressing mistakes, why each one feels sensible in the moment while quietly costing you over years, and how to start lifting the ceiling. And one of them, near the end, is so common and so invisible that most people making it would swear they were doing the responsible thing. Stay for that one. First, the reframe that makes this useful rather than discouraging. When income is stuck, most people look outward for the cause, the economy, the industry, the stingy employer, the bad market. And sometimes those are real factors. But focusing only outward misses the part you can actually change, which is the set of quiet mistakes within your own control that are contributing to the ceiling. This is not about blame. Plenty of income limits are genuinely external. It is about locating the portion that is yours to influence, because that is the portion you can do something about. A ceiling built partly from your own quiet habits is, in that part at least, a ceiling you can lift, and that is far more hopeful than a ceiling built entirely by forces outside you. Separating the part of your income ceiling that you can actually influence from the part you cannot is exactly the kind of clarity this channel is built for, because effort aimed at the wrong part changes nothing. I'm Theo, and this topic is one where a few quiet corrections can genuinely change the trajectory of what you earn. So let's look at the mistakes, one at a time. The first quiet mistake is waiting to be noticed. Many hardworking people believe that if they just do excellent work, it will be seen, rewarded, and paid automatically. So they keep their heads down, produce great results, and wait. But good work rarely announces itself, and the people who advance are usually the ones who make their contributions visible and who actually ask. We will come back to asking, because it is huge. The waiter assumes the system is watching closely and will reward fairly on its own. The system is busy, distracted, and rewards what it notices, which is often what gets pointed out to it. Waiting to be noticed is not humility that eventually pays off. It is a quiet mistake that lets your income sit still while others move. The second mistake is the big one, never asking. Not for the raise, not for the promotion, not for the better rate. This single quiet habit may cost more than all the others combined, because pay often does not rise on its own. It rises when someone asks, and the person who never asks quietly accepts whatever they are given, forever. And because raises tend to build on each other, a raise not asked for early does not just cost that year, it lowers the base that every future raise and offer builds on. We covered this compounding in an earlier video. The person who never asks is not being modest or easy to work with in a way that pays off. They are, quietly and repeatedly, choosing a lower number, and the cost of that choice compounds across an entire career. The third mistake is over-loyalty, staying too long in one place without testing your value. Loyalty feels virtuous, and there are real reasons to value stability. But in many fields, staying in one job for years often means your pay drifts below what the market would offer you elsewhere, because internal raises frequently lag what a new employer would pay to bring you in. So the loyal employee can quietly end up underpaid relative to their own market value, not because they are not valued, but because staying put rarely triggers the kind of repricing that moving does. This does not mean you must job hop constantly, but never testing your market value, never even knowing what else you could earn, is a quiet mistake that lets loyalty slowly cost you money. The fourth mistake is letting your skills quietly stagnate. It is easy, once competent at a job, to stop actively growing, to coast on existing skills while the world and the market move forward. This feels fine, even comfortable, for a long time, because nothing bad happens immediately. But skills that stop growing slowly lose value as the market's needs shift, and the person coasting can wake up years later to find their skills, and therefore their income, have quietly fallen behind. We saw this plateau pattern in the video about becoming too comfortable. Stagnation is a mistake that costs nothing today and a great deal over years, which is exactly why it is so easy to keep making. And here is the fifth mistake, the one so common and invisible that most people making it would swear they were being responsible. Underpricing yourself, and then never revisiting it. Many people set their value low early, out of modesty, insecurity, or simply not knowing better, and then anchor to that low number for years, letting it quietly define every raise, every offer, every self-assessment. We explored the psychology of this in the video about why charging more feels wrong. The quiet mistake is not just pricing low once. It is never going back to question it, letting an old, low self-valuation follow you upward through your whole career like a shadow, keeping your income a step below where it could be, while you believe you are simply being reasonable. So here is the shift. Stop assuming your stuck income is entirely due to outside forces and start looking honestly at the quiet mistakes within your own control that may be contributing to the ceiling. Not to blame yourself, but to find the levers you actually have. Because each of these mistakes, waiting to be noticed, never asking, over-loyalty, stagnation, underpricing, is something you can begin to correct, and correcting even one can meaningfully change your trajectory. The invisible ceiling is not entirely built by the world. A real portion of it is built by quiet, correctable habits, and that portion is yours to lift. The moment you see the mistakes clearly, they stop being an invisible ceiling and become a to-do list. And notice this is genuinely hopeful, not harsh. If your income were capped purely by forces outside you, there would be little you could do but wait and hope. But because a real part of the ceiling is built from your own quiet, changeable habits, you have actual power here. You can ask. You can test your value. You can keep your skills growing. You can revisit your pricing. None of these require you to become a different person. They just require you to stop making the quiet mistakes that felt like virtues. That is not a burden. It is leverage. And it is available to you starting now. So the work. First, run the honest audit. Go through the quiet mistakes, waiting to be noticed, never asking, staying too long without testing your value, letting skills stagnate, underpricing yourself, and mark which ones you recognize in your own working life. Be honest rather than defensive, because the ones you resist looking at are often the ones costing you most. This audit is uncomfortable, but it converts a vague sense of stuck income into a specific, addressable list, which is the first real step to lifting the ceiling. Second, pick one mistake and take one concrete action against it this month. If you never ask, prepare and have one pay conversation. If you have not tested your market value in years, quietly find out what your skills are worth elsewhere, even if you do not move. If your skills have stagnated, begin growing one that the market values. You do not have to fix everything at once, and trying to would overwhelm you. One correction, made real, begins to lift the ceiling, and the momentum from one often makes the next easier. And third, put income on a deliberate review schedule, because these mistakes thrive on neglect. Once a year, deliberately assess where your income is, Whether you have asked for what you are worth, whether your skills and value are keeping pace, whether your pricing still fits your ability. Income that is never deliberately reviewed drifts downward relative to its potential, quietly, through exactly the mistakes we have covered. A yearly, honest income review is how you keep the ceiling from silently rebuilding itself. If this video named a quiet mistake you recognized, that is exactly what these modules are for, and subscribing keeps them coming. And tell me in the comments, honestly, which of these quiet mistakes did you recognize in yourself? The most common answer, by far, is never asking. Before you go, be kind about the mistakes you recognized, because every one of them probably felt like a virtue at the time. Waiting felt like humility. Not asking felt like being easy to work with. Loyalty felt like integrity. Coasting felt like having arrived. These are not character failures. They are reasonable-seeming habits that quietly cost more than anyone told you they would. Seeing them is not an indictment. It is the beginning of getting your income unstuck. So run the audit, correct one mistake, and review your income deliberately from now on. The ceiling that has been holding your income down is not entirely the world's doing. A real part of it is built from quiet, correctable habits, and that part will lift the moment you stop making them. Your income was never permanently stuck. It was quietly held by mistakes that felt like virtues, and virtues you can see clearly are ones you can finally choose to change. Progress beats perfection, and a lifted ceiling beats a comfortable one. See you in the next one.